Now we've all heard an echo, but have you ever seen one? Well, stick around because you will this week on Motoring 2000.
TSN's Motoring 2000 is brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oils, formulated for the vehicles you drive and the way you drive them, and Midas Car Care, the way it should be.
Probably no other city in North America reflects the European flavor and culture as Quebec City does. Hello everybody and welcome to Motoring. And you know, like Europeans, Quebecers love their small cars. I mean, just ask Toyota. Since 1979, the Tercel has been among the top-selling subcompacts in the country. And 54% of those cars have been sold right here in La Belle Province. But despite the success, the Tercel is history. And the reason, the Echo.
The logo you're looking at is Toyota's new corporate emblem. This week on Test Drive, it's being carried around by the equally new 1991 Toyota Tercel, a familiar name with a whole new look.
This was a scene back in 1991 as Graham reviewed what was then the new generation Tercel, a car that has been a big part of Toyota's growth. Almost annually, the Tercel has represented over 30% of the company's total sales in Canada.
Psychologically, it was a tough decision. I mean, it sold 400,000 cars for us. It was one of our leading sellers of all our models, even over Corolla and Camry for a period of time. So it's kind of like giving up an old family member. And when we started first hearing about the Echo, of course, we were very excited about the new product. But to let our old child go away was a real tough thing. But now that we've had about a year to spend with the Echo, we're quite convinced that it's going to be an excellent replacement.
35% of all Toyotas sold in Canada are sold here in the province of Quebec. Quebec buyers like the style, they like the quality, but they also like small cars, and that's what Tercel was able to provide to them. Where Tercel accounted for about half of all the vehicles that we sold here in Quebec. We think that with Echo providing so much more value, so much more style and performance, that franchise grows.
Most companies are going to smaller cars with bigger interiors, and they seem to have done the ultimate in that. They've stretched the cabin as far as they could, and that was one of the problems that I found with the Tercel. Was it was a little car and it felt like a little car. This is a little car that feels like a big car, and I think it'll be successful for them.
The critical thing is that for people who are looking at an entry-level car, they're looking for the very best value possible. And that's what they're going to get with this vehicle. It's bigger, it's got better performance, and it's got the leading fuel economy in its class. So we're just moving the bar forward and giving consumers something that's better in every respect. And that's what we think we have to do. When you lead the segment, you don't get there by just being conservative about it. You have to keep moving forward.
I think they've made the right move for this market because the people that would buy Tercels and will buy this car are basically the same market, but their values have changed. People want bigger, more comfortable interiors, but they don't want to give up the small package. They have the comfort, they have the space, they have the amenities that maybe in previous years they'd have to go to a bigger car to get.
I guess we're going after that next big step. We may be a tier 2 manufacturer. We've got the opportunity right now with the vehicles that we're bringing in to cover all the segments in the marketplace, not just the subcompact, compact, and intermediate segments. with Avalon now. We're into the full-size segment, low luxury segments with that vehicle with Toyota. And Tundra, of course, gets us into the full-size truck marketplace. And there's some other vehicles coming down the pipe that are going to allow us to spread ourselves in every single segment of the marketplace. So Toyota within North America has got some real growth potential.
I'm lost! Somebody help me! Somebody help me! That's coming up later on Kenzie's Corner.
When Jaguar launched the original XK, they announced to the world that they were returning to their shapely heritage. They also promised a hotted up version. This week on Test Drive, we take a look at that very car. This is the all-new XKR. R as in racy and decidedly radical.
Bolting the supercharger to this engine ups the ante to a radical 370 horsepower. Boosting the intake air charge to 11.6 psi also works wonders in the torque department. While peaking at 3600 RPM, the vast majority of the 367 pounds-feet of torque shows up for work as early as 1600 RPM. As a result, the XKR charges from rest to 100 kilometers an hour in 5.4 seconds, making it the fastest accelerating Jag ever.
To add the panache to the power, you get a full complement of things Jaguar, up to and including a really classy looking burl walnut dash, Connolly leather seating, a usable back seat, although the usable part is debatable. The one thing that lets the side down, the tonneau cover, just doesn't fit very well.
The other part that truly impresses is the speed at which the XKR completes the 80 to 120k dash. At under 5 seconds, there's little fear of not finding the power or pickup needed to pass a slower moving vehicle or merge with highway traffic.
To prevent detonation under wide open throttle acceleration, Jaguar have taken a number of measures. First of all, there's a pair of air to liquid intercoolers. These things simply cool the incoming air charge and add density. Now, to optimize efficiency, there's two other things. The liquid used in these intercoolers is cooled by a third one that sits ahead of the rad, and these louvers are functional. They allow the hot air above the engine to be vented to atmosphere. It also has a side benefit. They help reduce lift at speed.
All this power is directed to the rear wheels through a 5-speed automatic transmission, a unit designed to handle the elevated torque output. While the shifts are slick, I wish Jag would rethink the J-gate design. Simply stated, it's not as intuitive as it should be. The XKR is suspended by a fully independent double wishbone design. To ensure the handling characteristics are the equal of the power, the R also features CATS, or Computer Active Technology suspension, and massive Pirelli P0 tyres, P245 ZR18s up front and 255/45s in back, as standard equipment. CATS automatically controls the amount of damping, selecting one of two modes depending upon input. Drive hard and fast and the damping firms up to improve the dynamics by minimising body roll. When out on a leisurely cruise, the damping is eased to promote ride comfort. In real terms, it switches back and forth seamlessly and transparently between the modes, delivering an exceptional blend of road manners and comfort.
From the driver's perspective, all you hear is a muffled whine as the blower does its thing, which is followed immediately by a very swift kick in the pants. Suffice it to say, my license has been in dreadful peril.
Stopping power comes from a large set of discs that are controlled by ABS+, the plus simply being electronic brake distribution. The design scrubs off speed in an efficient manner without anti-lock intervention. On the skid pad we required just 114 feet to stop from 80k. Very respectable considering the K's weight.
The only real complaint with the original XK8 was the fact that it lacked the power to play with the world's truly great sports cars. The introduction of the R has vaulted Jaguar back to the forefront. a position they enjoyed with the likes of the XK 120, 140, and of course the E-Type.
Time to update our long-term Honda Odyssey. The largest Honda the company has ever produced has been a winner so far. One of the van's best features is the folding rear seat that stows into a well, negating the need to strain your back taking it out. Another plus is found under the hood. The 3.5-liter V6 is tops in its class with 210 horsepower, giving it plenty of oomph with a full cabin. We'll wrap things up on our next update and reveal a pet peeve.
Our Midas tip of the week concerns keeping track of the service you do on your car. I strongly suggest that starting from day one, you log all the service and repairs that you do on your car. Keep it in a little booklet and keep it on the top of your sun visor so it's always handy. It's really good to have this booklet with you to discuss repairs that you're going to do with the mechanic. You may want to go back and see when the last time you did something or how frequently you've serviced something. Another thing that I've taken to doing in the last couple of years is taking a black magic marker and writing down things like fluid capacities, part numbers, and when I last serviced things like the cooling system, flushed the rad, changed the oil, etc. If I write it down right under the hood, it's very easy to hand it off to another mechanic who's servicing the car. For example, if the water pump goes and he sees that I just flushed the cooling system, he's going to catch that coolant for reinstallation. If he sees it's more than 2 or 3 years since the last flush, he knows that that needs to be done in tandem with doing that water pump, for example. In any case, it's a good idea to write these things down because it's a lot easier than looking for stickers on a door jamb that may be wiped out from weathering. That's your Midas tip of the week.
Here on Motoring, we're always looking for cars that stand out in a crowd. Well, when we spotted Mellent Melody in her bright pink Cabriolet, we knew we had a winner. Although the interview did get off to a slow start.
It's a convertible. It's 96. 96? 95. It's a 95.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me try that one again.
Is it 95?
85.
85! You're right, it is. It's 80.
Melanie, tell me first what kind of car you have here and how long you've had it for.
Okay, it's a 1985 Cabriolet convertible, Volkswagen, and I've had it for about 13 years. When I first got it, I really wanted a black one, and they gave me a white one, and I hated the white one, and the white one kept getting hit all the time, especially in the winter, so I decided I had to paint it pink. That's what started this. The most specific things on the car are on the dash. I have Beetlejuice characters, which are from a cartoon that my husband produces, and I have dice. I have paint, which is acrylic paint. It's pink and white and black. I have little bowling trophies down the front, and I have a good luck horseshoe with a red pepper hanging from it right on the front where the Volkswagen emblem is. I have little Barbie doll arms around the wheel thingies, and I've got more dice and rhinestones and jewels, and I have my initials right at the back. And I have, what else do I have on there? Oh, the baby dolls that are along the top, the Cupid dolls. Actually, I used to have baby doll arms that were on there, and they had little bottles in them. But somebody came in the middle of the night to my house, and they stole them all, which was really a bummer. And plus, they broke off all the bowling trophies. And I got up in the morning, and everything was gone, and so I had to replace it all. Plus, I had to repaint the entire hood again, so that was a bummer. Hi there, remember me? I was in the LTD MTJ 501. You look like you'd be fun. I've been working on a new record with the boys from Great Big Music, and a lot of my songs do incorporate cars and driving and truckers, and I have one new hit single called Cruising Down the 401. That's a very cool song.
Well, we got good comments and bad comments. We've got comments like that's a great car, and I wish I could have that car. And then there are the comments that are like, ew, that car's horrible, or what a dumb-looking car. And it's a mixture. I mean, we got more good than bad, but like everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
Does any of the stuff have special significance to you, like that special meaning why you put it in the car?
No. No, I love it all. I mean, it's all, you know, the more I do it, the more special it all becomes to me. Like it's a piece, it's an art piece in progress. I need like tons of more stuff. I have to completely cover it. I mean, people think it looks pretty wacky right now, but it looks like nothing compared to how it's gonna look when it's completely covered, and then it'll be pretty wild.
That's pretty cool.
We're now back with our brand new 2000 Echo. And you know, a car like this in the subcompact range obviously doesn't come with a lot of extras, but the new Echo does come with this little accessory that could come in handy if you find yourself in trouble. So let's say you're in a position where you need a tow and the person helping you out isn't a professional, doesn't have the proper equipment, and with so much plastic in the front end of these new cars, you don't want to risk any damage, so you just take this out and screw it in. So there you have it, simple but effective. You gotta love it. And I know one man who would love it if every car came equipped with one of these, and of course that's Bill Gardner. Bill?
Brad, you're absolutely right. We've been talking about that for years, dying for somebody to do it. I thought no car company would ever get around to it because it just makes too much sense. You know, these late model cars are just full of flimsy junk in the front end that's really brittle, breaks easily, and in order to tow that car the last few hundred yards into your shop after the tow truck drops it off, you want to use your pickup truck, say, to tow it across a snow-covered parking lot, and you've got nothing to pull against and all this brittle junk that can break. Same thing at the back of the car. Some of these late model cars are so flimsy, you'll literally cave them in if you push hard enough. Anyhow, I think that's a fantastic idea. What I want to talk about this week, though, is under the hood. That's the cooling system thermostat, whose function is to regulate the minimum operating temperature of your car. And it's particularly important in cold climates, or in Canada, well, 6 months of the year. The thermostat in your cooling system is basically a thermostatic valve that controls the flow of coolant through the radiator. Your water pump's moving coolant around the engine block at all times, but you want to prevent that coolant from getting out to the radiator until the engine reaches a specified temperature, or you'll overcool the engine. Now, on most cars, the thermostat housing is pretty easy to get off, and that's the case in this car. I'd say probably 90% of cars come off this easy. Just two little bolts in this housing, and we can see the thermostat. There it is right there. And what it does, when it's in like this, it blocks the flow of coolant completely until the engine reaches 195 degrees Fahrenheit cooling system temperature. Here at the base of the thermostat, we can see this brass part. This is the core of the thermostat, or wax pellet inside there. And that wax pellet, when it reaches 195, expands rapidly and pushes the core of the thermostat off the seat, opens it up, and it allows coolant to go through the center of the thermostat and flow out to the radiator to cool the engine. If the engine gets down below 195 Fahrenheit, the thermostat senses that, and this spring will close it and let it build back up to 195 Fahrenheit. You know, if you didn't have a thermostat in your cooling system, or you had a defective one, the operating temperature of your car would fluctuate tremendously depending on the ambient temperature outside on that particular day and how hard you were driving the vehicle. And you know, if you've got a temp gauge on the dash of your car, that's a good way to confirm when you've got a bad stat. That temp gauge should wind its way slowly and steadily up to the same spot in June as it does in January, and it should peg there and hold there no matter what you're doing with the car. If it fluctuates dramatically, you've already confirmed that you've got a bad thermostat. And when the thermostat is operating the way it should, in other words, keeping the cooling system at about 195 Fahrenheit, the engine runs efficiently, burns fuel efficiently, it keeps its oil clean, and all the emission control devices work the way they're supposed to. And also, you'll get good performance out of your heater. Now, if you've got a bad thermostat, or you're even suspect of it going into the wintertime, it's a pretty easy deal to change, as you've seen here today. This is a $14 part for this particular car, and pretty easy to change. So if you're in any doubt, put a new one in, and then you'll be on the safe side. And believe me, if this thing's bad, you're going to waste a whole lot of fuel in the wintertime, so you might want to think about that as well. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 2000.
If you're big into cars, check out motoringtv.com. And while you're at it, download a copy of Autopilot. Autopilot software searches out the matches to your automotive interest and makes the most of your online time.
Men, we're the ones who scratch ourselves in public, always hog the TV remotes, and refuse to stop and ask for directions when we're lost. Everybody knows that, right? Well, maybe it's not true. A company in the United States who makes the CD-ROMs for in-car navigation systems commissioned a market research survey to find this out, and guess what? Men are more likely to seek assistance when they're lost than women. Unbelievable. There's not a woman in the world for sure who'd believe that. Even the men who work for the market research company didn't believe it, but that's what the numbers showed. Now, critics of the survey say the numbers are skewed because under the heading of seeking assistance, they included looking at maps, and everybody knows that men are more likely to look at a map than a woman. Women, on the other hand, are increasingly unlikely to stop and ask a stranger for directions because of the media-fueled paranoia about their personal security. They are more likely to use a cell phone to call somebody, probably their brother or their husband, to ask directions on how do I get home from here. Men, on the other hand, are much more likely to use one of these in-car navigation systems because they're gadgets, and everybody knows that men are gadget freaks. Well, maybe we should stop with all this everybody knows. I mean, these are all stereotypes. We should stop excluding half of the population based on some unfounded allegation. I mean, we can no longer make jokes about what all women drivers do, can we? But guys, we're probably stuck with the TV remotes and the scratching. I'm Jim Kenzie.
You know, this new Echo is classified as a subcompact. Now, that's a segment that represents only about 8% of the total car market in this country, and the profit margins are slim, to say the least. So you ask yourself, why all the fuss? Well, as far as Toyota is concerned, if this new Echo can draw brand new first-time buyers into its showroom and thus become part of the company's family, it's well worth it. And hey, who's going to argue with that? Incidentally, Graham Fletcher will be checking out the nuts and bolts of the Echo on a future test drive. So make sure you join us as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
We do so by running a series of tests using crash dummies that are built to simulate small children and placing them in positions not in normal seating positions.
TSN's Motoring 2000 has been brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oils, formulated for the vehicles you drive and the way you drive them, and Midas Car Care, the way it should be.